Recording in progress. You're now officially giving me permission to record. And you'll be all over the world, except for you folks. They will be. Um, so today's song, we're featuring, if you got the music printed out, it's Don't Be Cruel and Crazy Little Thing Called Love. Now, most people know the song Don't Be Cruel, right? How many of you know Crazy Little Thing Called Love? Show of hands? Oh, well, that's good. And let me see a show of hands on the screen here. Oh, so some people do. That's great. And the music, Sean, why don't you screen the music? If you don't have it, or if you do have it, you'll see it says A1 there, and then A2 is on the, what page is it on? A2, okay, and then if you go further to Crazy Little Thing Called Love, A3, and then if you go a little further, there's 4. Where is it? I keep going. You see 4. Now, I want to stop right here before I go any further, okay? What I don't want people to do is make the mistake of thinking that the next setup is here. So I do number 4, and then I continue on. But you'll notice I made a note on the screen there, on the page there. It says A6 is on the second time. So that 6th setup that I'm going to talk about today only happens when you come around the second time, because the music tells you to go through that page, go to the last page. Now, if you go to the last page, Sean's going to go to the last page.
It wouldn't let me scroll. I pressed the button and it started drawing on it instead.
Things froze for the people online. So your last page, you see where it goes down to the first ending where A5 is? Okay. Then what happens, it tells you to repeat, and then you repeat back on the previous page where the repeat sign is. So you go back to the repeat, okay? And then when you get to that part right there, then the 6th setup is right there. And then you continue on to the next page. And then it goes to the second ending, okay? And then it says Dies al Coda. So what basically you're going to do is you're going to go back to the beginning of that song, okay? You're going to play. So that's the beginning. And then you're going to go back to the beginning, and then you're going to play until you get to the coda. I'm waiting for Sean to advance. Okay. And actually, is that it right there?
Is it not moving? I'm at the bottom.
Yeah, and then you play the last part over and over.
Yeah.
Okay? So that's just real quick on the order of the song. Okay? Now, go back to the beginning of the very first song. There's one little thing I added on there. Don't be cruel, yes. So, Sean, why don't you put that up real quick? I want to make sure you see it because this Easy Play music that I got didn't have it on there. But if you go down 1, 2, 3, 4 lines, it should show up okay on that first page there. You see that first measure on the 4th line? There's a little repeat I put there. And then you just basically go back to the beginning. Here's what I need you to add. Right before the repeat sign, and maybe Sean will put it up on the screen if he could draw it. Right before the repeat sign, add an A note.
I'll try. Let's see, an A note.
Just draw a letter A there, Sean. You don't have to actually.
Oh, okay. I was just doing this.
There you go. Do it and do a letter A or that. See how I put that? Now take a look at the beginning. See where it says an A in the beginning? That's why I did that, because the recording, which you're going to hear a couple recordings real quickly, the recording actually plays that part twice. The Easy Play music does not. Okay? Well, we just point the fan back here towards her. Okay. All right, so everybody got that so far? Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the music and I'm going to, I've got the song recorded. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause, because if I record this on Zoom and then I post this on YouTube or something, they block the whole video because the song is the actual song of the artist, okay? All right. So I'm going to screen share my music. Sean, can you pause the recording while I'm doing it? The reason why I showed you that is because some of the setups today, I'm going to try to get you close to those setups. All right, so here's what I did. Sean, put up on the screen the very first setup.
Can we see that?
Some are front and back and some are. All right. So you folks have this in your hand here. What I did, and I'm going to go through this, I'm just going to kind of skim through it. Now what I'm not going to be able to do today is go into detail, because this could be a 2-hour class, all right? But what I'm going to do is, what I gave you is the first setup is actually laid out for you. If you follow this setup exactly the way I have it, you should be able to set up this very first setup that you're going to hear, okay, on the organ. All right? Now, when you see A1, A2, A3, A4, A5, A6, what I did is I set up the organ, and then I saved it on A1. All right? And then on A2, I did a setup, and then I saved it on A2, et cetera, et cetera. So if you are manually setting it up yourself, okay, do all the setup stuff first, then memorize and locally here in Tucson, we've done a class or two, and I gave some instruction on that, right? You just save it on the preset and then go on to the next thing. Now, another thing you can do is if you have the presets already made, I can give them to you, and that also. Now, what's the benefit of having the presets already made for you? The benefit of having that is you can try it out yourself, and then you can compare, okay? And you can go back and look at it. And believe it or not, this is how I get a lot of ideas from setups. I'll take setups from like Jim Vogelman's and the Marcos and what have you, and I'll look at what they did, and I'll go, oh, that's how they did that. Now, the first setup, if you look at it on your sheet there or on the screen, there's a lot of things that it says, but believe it or not, it's really not that much. So what I did for the first setup is I selected the song setup, Don't Be Cruel, and that's all I did. I'm going to use the keypad here to find song setup. And when I do Don't Be Cruel, it actually sets it up at a tempo 172. I didn't like 172. It was a little too fast for me. All right? And if you look on the screen there, I'm not going to go in specifics, but if you do this, those jazz guitars and electric guitars, that sound is already set up for you. Or you can go in and try to manually set it up. You'd be surprised a lot of times you can get a start of a setup by using something else that's already done and then adjust it, okay? So I have Don't Be Cruel song setup on. It automatically set up a jazz guitar, an electric Strat guitar combined. And on the lower right, I don't know that I'll use it, but it's there. All right. It put on a growl saxophone. Now what did I do next? Is I changed the tempo from 172 to 163. And if that's still too fast, you put it at whatever you like. When you hear it, it won't be as fast as it seems. When people hear the number 163, they go, oh, it's fast. When you hear the rhythm and the way the melody is played, it's not going to feel fast. You'll hear it in a moment. Then it says transpose to D. Now, folks, why do you think I transposed it to D? You may ask, why did you transpose it to D? My students here are asking, and I see a few people asking. It just so happens, and it kind of worked out great. Don't Be Cruel is, the recording is in D, key of D. Crazy Little Thing Called Love is also in D. So it is. And I know that as a guitar player, it's a very popular, it kind of works out perfect for that. So that's the reason why I did it. I just chose it, and it just so happens they were both in the same key. Now, the other thing the song setup does is it turns on a harmony automatically. I decided to turn it off. Okay? So on the right side of the instrument where your harmonies are, all of the organs have harmonies on them. Most of them, I think virtually every model that I've known on a Lowrey, most of the, over the last 20 years, should I say, the harmonies on the right side of the instrument. Turn that off. Why? Because of the way I liked it. Now, if you like it, leave it. Okay? The other thing I did, and I said optional, is I took the guitar sound, okay, and what I did is I turned on the dynamic keying. And the reason I did that is I just like the touch of a guitar when I'm playing. I like to have the ability to play the guitar with a touch sensitivity so it feels and acts like a real guitar. Okay? So far, so good. Now, this is the last thing, and I'm not going to go into detail, but you're going to find that this is going to be very important to use later on in the song. You'll see it says change the touch bars to the following. You see that there? It says left and right. Left to auto start stop and right to fade in, fade out. And you're not going to use it till later, but the reason why I did it in the first step is that way it's there. And as I save up the future setups, it's always there. Okay? It's going to be very useful later on. All right? Now, I'm going to tell you how to do it, but for class members, if you want to get a little in detail, for you students online, this is a great, if you don't know how to do this, this is a great opportunity to contact a personal assistant and get a one-on-one on how to do it. And it's not that hard, but I'm going to tell it to you. So what you do is you go to the feature clear, and you scroll to a option called touch bars, a touch bar, okay? And what happens is the left will automatically say FX or fill, and the right says glide. And all you do is on the screen is you touch it, and you scroll to it says auto start or fade in and fade out, okay? And you just leave it there because it's going to become in handy later. Now, that first entire setup, here's what we did by doing what we just did. Are you ready? By the way, I didn't write this down anywhere, but I should have. If you're going to use the intro ending, use intro 2. I think it works better. Intro 1 sounds like this. Okay? Now, I'll show you what number 2 is. Now, the other thing that I failed to do that you can make a note, if you're using the song setup Don't Be Cruel, it automatically sets up the rhythm style called 50s swing rock. Okay? But if you're using the song setup, it'll automatically set that up for you. Now, 50s swing rock is great because if you listen to that intro, rock around the clock, I mean, you could do a lot of that. But the intro 2 is pretty cool because if you use intro 2, it'll sound a little bit more like for this song. At least a little closer. All right, here we go. Notice the repeat? Okay, now if you heard the recording of the song, if I had played it all the way through, you'll notice that it actually repeats that part again. The music does not. So I had to throw in a little repeat. All right? So far, so good. So using that song setup, this is one of those things where sometimes using something that's already programmed for you with a minor adjustment will work nicely. Okay? Now, again, I'm probably not going to use the saxophone on that lower keyboard, but if you get the urge to do it, do it. Maybe in the second part on the repeat, however you want to do that. It's not that important unless you just want a different flavor. Now, there was a lot of words up there for the first setup. Setup 2 is a lot of work. This can make or break your song, folks. You know what? And many students, when they hear me teach these classes, you'll hear me say this a lot. Sometimes all it takes is one little thing to make the difference in a song and an arrangement. And I have simply there drum variation. Okay? Yep. That's on A number 2. Okay? And then here's what's great. All that's right there for you. Everything I'm saying is right there too. Okay? Now, what I'm going to do is I'll play the last several measures of A1, and then I'll go into A2 and just listen for the subtle difference, okay? If you listen to the actual arrangement that he does, I don't think he really changes much. I had to change something. Yes? That's it. Yes. Yeah, A1 is the major setup for the song. Actually, it's the major setup for the entire arrangement. If you notice, I think that has more text on it, except for number 3, but I'll get into that. You'll see that's got more setup than anything else, because what I did is I started with, for lack of better words, a foundation. Okay, and I made some adjustments, and then what I typically do is adjust a little on the way. Sometimes a little bit more, but and what happens is once you have the main foundation of the song, sometimes making the changes along the way is the easier part, okay? So yes, so I'm going to play the last few measures or so of the first setup, and listen closely to number 2 as I do it, okay? So let's see. That's all I did. And did you hear that? Drum variation was the only thing that I did as I turned on. Listen to 1. Here's 1. And when you turn on drum variation, this is what it sounds like. And some hand clappers come on in there. Yeah, okay. They really want to make sure they help you stay on time. That's what they're there for. That's not why they're there. They're just there because that was... Actually, in the recording, I believe there's some hand clapping going on in the song. Okay? So then what I do is I play that for a little bit. And at the bottom of the page of Don't Be Cruel, it does say return to coda. You could actually repeat that. Okay? It wants you to repeat. And then play the song. And then it says fade, but we're not going to fade. Okay, so you can cross that word out. The wiggly looks like almost like a percentage sign, yeah. Now, here's what I have to tell you, folks. You'll notice in this song, Don't Be Cruel, the melody repeats frequently. So if you get lost and you accidentally go back to the beginning, you're technically still playing the song correctly. If you really go back and listen to the song, what's changing a lot are the lyrics. The melody line is pretty much the same. So you could do this a number of ways, and which way is right is any way you do it. You can go, okay, I'm going to play the first part, go to the repeat, and I'll play the second part, go here, and then maybe on the second page I'll just play that twice, and then go to the next song. What I'm going to do, I'll play it at the end of the class, is I'm going to play it the first page, repeat, go to the second page, and then I'm going to go to the end, and that's it. And then I'm going to go to the next song because I'm doing a medley. You can do it however you want. If you want to repeat the second page again, do it. All right? Now, you'll notice on the music I have a no chord, okay? And here's why I did that, is because the way I have my presets set up, when I go to the next part, it's just a nice transition. Now, what I did is I set up the organ, saved the preset, so all I have to do is go to the next preset. Now, here's what I did for the third setup, Mr. Maloney. And if you notice on the third setup, it really helps if you have the setup on the preset. Now, if you're trying to do this on the fly, it's not going to happen. I mean, it took an hour to program it all and then play it through. What I did is I turned off alter style. Now, just a side note, why I turned off alter styles, when I did the song setup, Don't Be Cruel, it automatically turned it on, by the way. So if you're following through, I turned off the alter style, and what's going to happen is this. Listen to the rhythm. Okay. Notice how the rhythm changes a little bit, right? Okay. Memory off. Oh, why did I do that? Well, there is a reason why I did that, and you'll see why in a little bit. There's a memory button that I turned off because there are going to be times that I'm going to use a chord and I don't want that chord holding. Okay? And then it says for the next setup, basically what I'm doing is I'm using some scat vocals. How did I get it? I went to bank E0 that most people have. All right? If you don't have E0, you can manually set up a scat vocal of some sort. And it gives you, and if you're looking at the handout there, that's what it sets up for you when you push E0. It automatically sets up scat duba dow, vocal duba dow, and then I put in there for you, I like to really make things a little harder. Now I've made it optional for a reason. I put on there, you can edit the lower and bring it down an octave lower. Okay? So what happens is, and I'll just demonstrate it, but I'm not going to get into detail, but I'm going to tell you why. Let me turn off everything else so you could hear it. Now, can you folks hear that vocal sound? It's not very strong, but I'm going to see if you could hear it. You hear that? You can hear it. Can you kind of hear that chord as I was pressing it? Some heads, you can hear it. There's an option that if you pull up the lower sound, you could actually change that an octave lower. If you don't, it'll still sound okay. Okay? Now, there's one more thing, Sean, and this is actually the most important part of this setup. I think Sean went to the restroom. Oh, no, he didn't. I even put it in bold for this reason. See where it says dynamic keying or keyboard touch. Now, I said dynamic keying because a lot of the organs have a feature called dynamic keying, and the E series has keyboard touch. And all that means is it takes the sound, and the harder or softer you hit it, the louder or softer it gets. But here's why I turned it off. Okay? Pay very close attention. Now, if you want this on, You can leave it on, but I think it might make it sound a little funny occasionally. E0 automatically turns on the touch feature, and it puts that vocal sound on. And if you hit it a little harder and then hang on to it, it does this.
Down. Do down.
And it may or may not work. It might be kind of funny, but you may have the down going on so much. So what I did is I turned it off. So now, no matter what happens, go ahead and put it back on the organ here, Sean. So watch. No matter how hard I hit it, and if I have the touch feature on, if I accidentally hit it a little too hard, it's going to start dialing. So I purposely turned that off, so it's not on anymore, okay? So let's go from setup 2. I'm going to do the no chord, and then I'm going to transition to the second page. Now, you guys have a trick here because there's 6 pages. So I set it up so that if I'm playing, I can take my paper off and just throw it. That's what I'm going to do when I'm playing the song. So you have to be aware. I'm warning you. I'll just do this. And that's probably another reason why I did the no chord. So if I'm on the second setup, and then I'm going to go to number 3. Okay, no chord. Maybe even do it a fill-in. Take time to put your music aside. And then I'm going to go to number 3. And here we go. Oh. Did you see what I did there? Nope. You were looking at your notes, weren't you? Yes, good. But I did something there. Oh, yes, I did. I have a note to press stop. But remember in the beginning, I said to set up your touch bar to have auto start stop. And then I had the fade out. Now, we're not using the fade out yet, but it's there. But I have the auto start stop. Now, most people, well, maybe you're all pros. You don't need to do this. Don't Be Cruel is easy. Crazy Little Thing Called Love was easy. I used to play it on a guitar, but when I actually had to learn it on here, there are a couple spots that were a little tricky for me. So it was hard for me to want to play and then take my hand off and go up and hit the stop button. I found it easier if I put the auto stop the touch bar. That's why I had you set it up that way earlier. Watch. Let me do this standing up. I'll do it from the beginning of the page. I'll do it from the beginning. Okay? Now, I use the fill-in on my kick switch, and then I press stop. All right? So let's see if I can... it's be a little tricky doing standing up, but everybody will get the point. So... So you just stop it there. Now, when I'm sitting down, I actually use the fill-in first and then I stop it. Now, what's cool about this is you can take as long as you need to before you go to the next part. So watch. I'll play that last part again. Fill in, stop. Oh, boy, that's easy, isn't it? And once you hit the note again, strike the chord. I used it again. And why did I do that, folks? Why, you ask? Well, they're curious. Are you curious to know?
Hi, Rod.
Yes, hi. Oh, Gary Veith, our Tucson student from Gary. Gary looks like he really wants to know why. He's full of questions. Here's why I did that. If you heard the recording, if you kind of remember, they had two parts in that song where they stopped, and they did that. And so that's what I was trying to do, is give you that same flavor. Okay? You have a question? Nope. There is. No chord just does that. When you hit the chord, everything stops but the drummer. But that's not what I did. There's an actual start-stop button here. Okay? But what I did, folks, she asked if there was a stop button, okay, instead of the no chord. Sometimes people use the no chord, which is good, but the beauty of that is that everything goes away except for the drummer. Okay? Okay. Now what I did is I put the auto start stop feature on the touch bar. You didn't see me do that because that's a far distance between here and here. I'm liable to make a mistake. This song was hard enough for me to play. Yes, because I just learned it yesterday. I thought it was a piece of cake because I played it a guitar back years ago. I play it all the time. And then I realized this was actually a little trickier. I put it on the notes there on the second page. It says FX fill, then stop. Yep. And then at the end of the second page, yes. It's been there the whole time. I just have stop. Those are the only two places. But I have the, remember folks, I have the touch bar program. Now, if you're fast enough to reach up and hit the button, and you don't want to put it on the touch bar, that's fine. My preference in this song was this. So you could see me, if this was the keyboard, is when I'm playing, I like to use the fill-in with my foot switch instead of the touch bar, okay? So what I did is I hit the fill-in. Now, if you forget to do the fill-in, it's okay. But if I have the touch bar set to the auto start stop, when I touch it, it'll do just that. It'll automatically stop. The reason why I use the feature auto start stop is so the minute I start playing again with the chord, the band kicks back in. Okay? So if you want to make a note to yourself, go to the second page of Crazy Little Thing Called Love. Before I go further, if you have the music, go to the second page of Crazy Little Thing Called Love. Yeah, now at the very top it says love, fill, stop. You see that? What's the next melody note? This thing, right? Okay, right above that, I would actually put it above the word thing. You did what I should have done for everybody. Above the word thing, oh, look it, Sean's going to help us. That's Sean. He's like, he's not there, and then all of a sudden he pops up, right? He's like a prairie dog. Isn't that what they do? They, boop, but a very helpful one. Above the word thing, the note thing, C chord. C chord. Your C chord. C. C. Yeah, C. Right above the, oh, look at that. He's, yeah, see? Can you see that over there? Can you see that from where you're at? Can you see that from where you're at? Okay. So on the second page, the word thing, the melody note is G. Just put a C chord there. No. Put a C chord on top. Yeah. Put a C right there. The reason is this. Here's the reason. Folks, here's the reason why. If I get to this part of the song and I use the auto stop feature, everything has stopped. So if there's no chord there, you may not think of doing it. you may start playing the melody, but there's nothing happening. The rhythm will begin playing the minute I press the chord. Okay? It makes sense? So it's something like this. See, if I play, there's no rhythm. But if I have a C chord there, so it'll get the rhythm starting again. Okay? Because I didn't feel like it. Because that's not how the way he does it in the song. He goes, crazy little thing called love. And then he goes, this thing. That's how the song comes in. Okay? Now, we're going to play that all the way through. And it does it again. If you go back and listen to that song, if you don't, you can find it on YouTube or whatever. It's just good to hear it through once. At the very end, it goes, and I do it again. All right? And then it goes, now here it has a chord for you, so you don't have to worry about it. Now, the fourth setup, Mr. Maloney. What does number 4 bring us? I hope it's not a lot of work. Oh, phew. All I had to do was turn off drum variation. And the only reason is because we turned it on earlier. Okay? And it's one of those things again, folks. It just changes the dynamics of the feel of the song a little bit. If you listen to the recording, they change it up a little bit. Now, this rhythm, by the way, is not the exact rhythm for that song, but it works the way we have it set up. Okay? Now, so we're going to play that fourth part of the song, and this one's a little trickier for me, but I'll get through it. I'll finish the last part and then stop and go to number 3. Here we go. Okay, now if on that third page there, you'll see it says FX fill, depending on the organ you have, and I did a no chord. Now, when you hear me play this, folks, I'm going to tell you, every time I play that part, it's probably going to sound a little bit differently. Why? Because I have a hard time with that part of the song. But it's okay. But this is good for some of the students that have a hard time with the song, because I want you to see how I work around it. Is I play that part the best that I can, and then when I'm ready to begin playing again, I just play that last line, and then I just pick up from there. Okay? And I play it all the way through to the last page till I get to the 5th setup. Now, the 5th setup, that repeat basically makes you go back to the 3rd page, because that's where the repeat sign is. Now, the reason why I did this setup for this part of the song is because the actual recording, they don't sing this part of the song, or he doesn't sing the song, the singer. Okay? There's actually a guitar solo in there. Okay? And I had a couple thoughts with this. I could either tell everybody try the fake it if you have it, or maybe you can try doing it yourself. What I decided to do is I put out a guitar sound, and I just played that part of the song as the music is telling me to. So by doing that, you're almost creating your own little solo by using the guitar. So how did I get this guitar sound? Judy Bram says, modern 2. See, without you, these 60 people wouldn't know how to do that. Thank you, Judy. She said modern 2. So, yeah. So here's how you do this. I'm going to use a guitar sound, somewhat of an electric guitar sound. Now, I'm going to show you what it sets up, but if you go on to category setup, modern number 2, this is on A5. Now, if you go to if you go to modern number 2, I believe the next part, did I write on there how it's set up, Sean? Did I not do that?
No,
Oh,
it just says
oh, it
modern
just says,
2.
okay, it just says modern 2. Now here's what modern 2 will set up for you, folks. I knew I forgot something. I'll update these notes and get them to you. Nope, you select category setup number 2, and what it does is it sets up an electric Stratocaster, and electric guitar sound. Okay, and it's nothing too harsh. So what happens is it goes into this. Modern 2 will set up the sound that I just told you. It'll automatically set up a guitar sound for you. Here's what it'll set up. Almost. Actually, I designed these presets on the Prestige, by the way. Yes, there's. It's a button that's a category that not many people probably go to because they may be deceived by what kind of sounds they'll be in there. So all of the, I'm going to say all, but a lot of the touchscreen models, the SU series touchscreen models, they even have it. You have all these category presets, big band, Latin, and then there's a more button. Okay, on the marquees, the Arias, the Grand Marquis, those models, that's consolidated into one button called More. Now, when you touch it, you get more categories. One of them will be called Modern. If you select Modern and then number 2, yes. See, so if you left here and you forgot everything else I said, but you remembered that, it was worth the drive. Or worth sitting at your computer. I just used modern number 2 as this setup. Okay, the guitar sound. Okay, that's how I got the sound. And what I did is I put modern 2 and I got it set up and then I saved it so that way I can keep it in order. So this is what'll happen when you get to this part. I'll do the last part of number 4. Let's see. And maybe I'll stop again, or you don't have to. You do whatever you want. Now I go to number 6, and I'll tell you what I did in number 6. Okay, in just a moment. But that's all I did with number 5. As I took the guitar sound from Modern 2 and I resaved it. Okay? All right. Now number 6 was a tricky one because I was trying so hard to try to get. If you listen to the song the recording that I played, Freddie Mercury, he's got this amazing voice. He starts singing almost a cappella. And there's some hand clapping going on. Gotta be relax. And then in the background, some of the backup singers from the band, they start singing all these other little things. Now, I couldn't give you the exact same setup, but it got something that was worth using. In fact, Sean's got it up on the screen there. It says use the same setup as A3, the vocal sound. All right. However, this is the important part of this preset. I turn off the auto bass and I turn on the drum variation and alter style. Okay? Now here's why. Let me I'm going to leave that there. Everybody online can still see that. And I want you to listen. Listen to the band before I make these changes. There it is. Okay, so that's setup 5. That's if that song's got a nice guitar playing in the background and the bass line is doing their thing and the drummer's swinging along, all right? But when you go to number 6, listen to the difference as I go to it. So I've got the clappers in there just like the band did. I got some of the oohs going on in the background. Okay? And then on the lower chord, I have a vocal. This is the one thing I did is I put vocal ooh on the bottom. And it's very subtle, so it's not overpowering. So when I play the notes and I play some of those chords, it gets as close to that sound that we're hearing. But okay, now go ahead and put it back to the screen here. Now this part here, I'm going to go from number 5 to number 6. Let's see here if I could pull this off standing up. Watch, here we go.
Do ba do ba do ba do do ba do do ba do ba do ba do ba do do ba do do ba 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 do do ba do.
So it cuts out the bass, and you just have some of the vocals going. And then when I go into the last setup, I mirrored the exact same setup as number 3. Now, I'm glad you said that. Now, they didn't hear you. She said, why don't you just press 3 instead of 7? You can do that. So the option I have is, sometimes I like to just go in order. And what I didn't do is I didn't put 3 there because I was afraid if I put 3 on the page, it may confuse somebody as to where to press it in the song. So you can do that. So you could say to yourself, well, if I already have number 3 set up, I can just do A3. In fact, the 7th preset says go back to the beginning of the song. So if you press 7, then you accidentally press 3, well, guess what? It doesn't matter because they're the same setup. Okay? So did you all get that? So if you're saving your presets, you can optionally take number 3 and then resave it to 7 and do it that way, or it doesn't matter. The end result is the same. Now, folks, there's one more thing. I had you do this earlier in the song, and I told you it was going to be necessary at the end of the song. Does anybody know what it is? It was an hour ago, so I know we... Auto, start, stop, and what else? Fade. Fade. Yes? Remember fade?
Fade.
Okay. I programmed it on the touch bar. Now, you can reach up if you want and touch it, or because I had it programmed here, the actual song, that song, they keep playing the last part, crazy little thing called love, crazy little thing. That's how I do it, and they fade away. There it is. Look at Sean Maloney. Don't you just love Sean Maloney? That's it. That's the song. It just repeats and it fades out. Now, you have, I'm going to tell you this right now. When you put the fade in and fade out feature. You may not know this. Internally in the organ, you can program how long you want the fade in or fade out. Did you know that? Some are saying yes, some are, Bab's going no. Some are saying yes, but they really don't. They just want to look like. See, that's what I would do if I was there. Piece of cake, and then I've got the manual. Where's it? Okay. It defaults, I don't know if it's 10 seconds, but I know it defaults, if you pull it up on the screen, the number is 10 and 10. Okay? And how you get to it, and that'll work, by the way, if you don't change it. I actually changed the fade out to 20. And the reason is it just means it's going to fade out a lot. It's going to take longer to fade out. You don't have to do that if you don't want. So how I do it is you touch feature. Most of the Lowry models have a fade in, fade out button. Okay, if you have it, now if you don't have it, you can do it the way I've seen Jerome Johnson do it. You know how he does it? He puts his foot on the pedal and he plays, and he just gradually softens up on the expression pedal. That was trickier because if you take your foot out when you get, and then you actually go, okay, blow yourself out. Now this organ here, where is the fade in and the fade out? Oh, it's over here, okay, on the left. On the Prestige, it's actually in the center. Since I didn't use a dry erase board, I guess I thought I was going to use it and I didn't. On the Prestige, it's right in here. Okay. Some of the models over here. I don't know where it's at on the X, but it's either here or there. It's on that side. It's on that side where the rhythms are, okay? Now, if you just push it and you play, continue playing that part, you have a default of 10, and that'll work nicely, okay? But if you want to go in and change it yourself, you touch Feature, and you just scroll till you see a feature called Fade In / Out, okay? And when you touch it, on the screen, it'll more than likely say fade in 10, fade out 10. Now mine says 20 right now because I changed it already. Okay, now 10, let me put it to 10 so you could hear the difference. Now here's 10. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna press the fade in, fade out button. Listen to just the rhythm. And you want to wait till the light goes off and it's done. If you stop it and then try to play again, it kind of fades in and out and you think there's something wrong with the organ. There isn't, okay? That's actually pretty quick. When I heard the song, they actually went a lot longer, so I thought 20 might be good. So let me put it up to 20. And watch. I have it on the touch bar, so when I'm playing, all I have to do is touch the touch bar when I'm ready. It actually works a little bit better for that song, I think. So that's 20. Okay? Now, here's what I'm going to do is, many of you know this, I'm going to go back and update some of this stuff, but the notes, especially the guitar part, and I'm going to put it on our website called Patreon. Now, some people are familiar with that. And I'm going to also give this handout in the music and the presets to all the stores for this particular one. So if you have any questions or if you need help with it, if you go into your local store there, you can bring in your USB, you can get the presets, you can get the handouts and the notes. Again, this handout tells you what I did, but there are a little bit more specifics in a couple of the setups. I would encourage you, if you have questions about fade in, fade out, editing some of the sounds. There's a thing I did with the screen where I edited the screen a little bit. I think I put that somewhere in there. I didn't go into detail on some of the details, but I wanted to give you the overview of how we came up with this arrangement, okay? And Sean, you're at the computer there?
Yes.
Can you screen share Patreon real quick in case
Oh,
there's
yeah,
some
sure.
folks that aren't familiar with? Okay, so actually, can you go to our website first?
Oh, yeah, I could do that too. No problem.
A lot of people have trouble finding this Patreon. Yeah, so here's the easy way to do it. You go to our website. A lot of people are used to fletchermusic.com, and that's what it looks like. And you'll see at the top it says connect with us. The first one is on the envelope. If you are getting our emails, you don't need to select the envelope. That's just if you want to sign up for our email list. You can do it again, but it's just going to update it. The next one is an F. Most people are familiar with the Facebook. That just brings you right to our Facebook page. And the next one is a YouTube video icon. So if you click that, that takes you to our YouTube videos. Now, 50% of what we record goes on our YouTube channel, but not everything, okay? Starting last, I want to say November, everything we recorded was put on Patreon. So if you click on that, it looks like a P, sort of. It brings you right to the Patreon page. And you'll see we have 189 patrons. And folks, we want to grow that number to 1,000 by the end of the month. So hurry up. And you'll see, now Sean, you'll see Sean is
A great
scrolling
picture.
through all the videos that are not blocked. That means it's open to everybody. But from time to time, because we have some patrons, we do put some things on here that are just for Patreon members. So like that styling class. Now, another cool thing is if you go up at the top, you can search.
On mine, I have to go to the bottom.
You have to go on the bottom.
Yeah,
No,
because
I think, no. Oh, there
it
it
should
is.
look like this. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you do that little, I think if drop down menu or no? I can't.
Mhm.
Okay. So if you see there, now click on the one that says Robert Roman. See, this shows all the classes I taught, shows all the classes, okay? Oh, wait, that's a good pose. What the heck was I talking about then? I always wonder. But if you go back a few, I think I have, there it is. So this was last month's Song of the Month. You'll see, continue reading. Will it open it up a little bit? Okay. All right. So it says New York, New York with no notation. Sometimes I put, so what happened is when I get this posted, I'll put the notes on here. Now the music I have to be a little bit more careful with because especially like Queen's music. I don't know if copyrights work and all that stuff. But I'll put all my notes on there. Like that's an example. I'll load the presets on there as well. And for those of you who are locally, if you bring in a USB, I'll give you a copy of the presets too. Okay? I'm going to also, for this particular arrangement, I'm going to get all this information and send it to all the stores. They have them on a local level. And if you're not local, you'll be able to get them on Patreon. And then somewhere in between, we'll be able to figure out how to get the setups. Okay? Now, last but not least, I got to play the whole song all the way through at least once so you can kind of hear what it'll sound like if you set it all up. Now, what I will tell you is this. I did a lot of talking in an hour and a half, hour and 10 minutes. If you go through and you set up the organ and then save it and then set up the next thing and save it and then set up the... If you do that, it's actually going to be a lot easier than you think. I just talked about the things along the way, okay? So here we go. Let me... now what I'm going to do, because I have 6 pages, I'm going to set up my music in a way. Let's see if I can pull this off. Oh my goodness. I kind of need it there. So I might start off with this, page 1, page 2. And then when I get to the bottom of page 2 with the no chord, I'm going to use that also as my opportunity to take the papers off. So that's another reason why I put it there. But it's also a good way to segue to the next setup. All right. So here we go. Mistakes and all, folks. Mistakes and all. Mistakes and all. Let's see here. Da, 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 da. Oh, thank you. And the little trick with a fade at the end, you got to make sure that it's completely out, because if you stop it and then you start playing again, if you leave it on, then it'll think you want to fade in. So it may not start playing for a few seconds. All right. Now, because there's so many cool little things and what I did in there, I got a handout for you. That's why I gave it to you as well. So it's a good way to start, follow along with. If you have questions, I'm going to encourage you to see your personal assistants, your local stores. Even if you're in another state, we can help you across the United States. And I'll send the stuff out on email. It'll be on Patreon on Saturday. So that way, when you have nothing to do this weekend, you can go in and review it. Okay? So thank you so much, everybody, for attending, and we'll hope to see you soon. I want to just remind everybody of one thing. In Arizona, we have Mr. Marco Mendez and myself doing some concerts. Next month, I'm traveling out to Florida to do those same concerts with Marco Mendez. If you haven't heard yet, there are 3 different concert times. And then in Arizona, I believe we have Joe Fontesca coming out here. So we have all sorts of cool things on the horizon. Be in touch with your staff members. And as always, stay safe. Keep playing music and mwah. And mask up, she says.
Thanks, Bob. Robert.
Stay safe, please.
God bless.
We hope you enjoyed.
Thank you, Robert. Well
Thank
done.
you, folks.
Bye.